as we continue to wait.
I think you can probably go ahead and launch because it'll take us a few minutes to actually get to the first slide. So.
Okay, sounds good. I will now call to order the THPRD Board of Directors work session for March 9th, 2021. Jessica, can you please call roll?
Tia Ping.
Here.
Heidi Edwards.
Here.
Barbie Miner. She's been excused this evening. Felista Monteblanco. She's having technical difficulties, so hopefully we'll see her in a minute. Alfredo Moreno.
I'm here.
All right.
All right, we will. I'll go ahead and let Julie go ahead and launch this. As we know, this process, and I'm sure Julie will give you all the nitty-gritty detail, but it's been a healthy process. A lot of meetings, a lot of updates for the board, and particularly the task force engagement, our affiliates, and new interest from the public as well. So it's been a very healthy engagement process, and with that, I'll let Julie kick us off.
All right. Well, thank you. Good evening, Board of Directors. I'm Julie Rocha, the Interim Sports and Inclusion Director, here to present the Sports Affiliation Review Process recommendations. Today's outline, and we're going to talk about the purpose, our work to date, and the recommended changes that we've come up with. The challenge we have is limited field, pool, and gym space to share with the public after THPRD sponsored and co-sponsored activities, events, programs, and intergovernmental agreements. For this reason, the affiliate review process needed to be reviewed. The goal is to create a classification system prioritizing groups serving in-district patrons, recreational-based programs, and those aligned with the district's mission. The process ensures publicly funded facilities and services benefit district residents by creating equitable access for community use, streamlining a process for all affiliated sports, understanding THPRD's capacity levels, and implementing a tool to evaluate our partnerships. THPRD currently has 41 affiliates serving over 9,000 youth and adults through organized sports leagues and clubs. Affiliates play a crucial role in helping THPRD to serve our community. These partnerships provide access to high-quality sports programs to youth and adults that would be more expensive if the district were to facilitate. The stakeholder work group consists of 11 community members and staff and performed outreach to all existing affiliates and held a public meeting for organizations interested in affiliating with THPRD. To date, we have hosted 9 stakeholder work group meetings and 7 subcommittee meetings. In this new process, we will be including the 2 boxing clubs at Garden Home Rec Center. The stakeholder work group needed to update and create new criteria for affiliation. As you can see, there's a list of all of the documents that were updated and created, but some of the key emphases are prioritize recreational organizations, prioritize in-district patrons, so 100% in-district for rec and 80% in-district for competitive, require organizations to be nonprofit, address club growth of in and out of district players and future need for resources, equalize field access for youth and adult sports, and accommodate community use of facilities beyond affiliation. The group is also recommending creating an equitable review process for all affiliate applications by establishing a review committee of volunteers from the affiliated clubs and staff. Like affiliates would not review their sport. For example, a current soccer affiliate would not review a soccer application, but would review baseball or aquatics. We are also going to provide a timeline for when each sport will apply for affiliation. Our goal is to create a focus and commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. These actions will strengthen culture and foster an inclusive, bias-free, and equitable community that enables all of our players to achieve their full potential on and off the field, court, or pool. One way we can achieve this is by providing access to non-organized community users and establishing expectations for our affiliates to share THPRD messaging. Other requirements for our affiliates is an annual DEIA training for staff and their members, making sure they align with THPRD's mission, vision, and values, that each club has a code of conduct for their players, coaches, and spectators, and that clubs implement a zero tolerance discrimination policy for players and coaches, and those who do employ staff, an anti-discrimination policy, policy against protected classes for their employees. We needed to update and move the affiliate information that currently sits in District Compiled Policy 7, which is District Regulations, to District Compiled Policy 8, District Property, which will come later as we will propose other DCP changes district-wide for board approval. We've also created a policy and procedure for staff and revamped and created materials that I'll go over in the next few slides. Our first task was to update our application. We've made this user-friendly. We've also centralized communications so that all communications can come through one email that staff can get back to. We've provided definitions, and a good example is community use. Community use is non-organized sports leagues and clubs open for public use, but would still require a permit, as opposed to drop-in, which is facilities that would be open to the public for first come, first served basis. And we've added the DIA requirements. One piece of the process is the stakeholder work group created the idea for an affiliate scorecard. This is the tool that will be used to evaluate the affiliate's compliance with district partnerships requirements and to gauge and maintain positive relationships between affiliates and the district. We'll be utilizing the scorecard each season that an organization allocated hours. Affiliates need to maintain a score of 100% to stay in good standings or will jeopardize their affiliate status. The scorecard contains aspects of respectful communication with district staff and other affiliates, good stewardship of district property and assets, timely payments, as well as showing that the affiliate organization supports the mission, goals, and views of the park district regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. Our intent of the scorecard is for it to be used as a positive reinforcement of our continuing partnerships. We have created a scoring rubric that is part of this document as well. In order to keep the scoring objective as possible, we've stayed with a yes, no, or a meets or does not meet criteria in the scored areas. As we look at capacity, THPRD is always the priority. We take care of our programs, special events, and Beaverton School District prior to allocating time to recreational and competitive affiliates. We want to make sure we have time for the community and renters. THPRD must have field, gym, or pool capacity in order to add an affiliate. For this reason, if a new club only has 7 teams or 100 participants when they affiliate, we need to know how they will grow in the next 3 years and if we have enough space to support their future needs without impacting other affiliates. This slide depicts the aquatic capacity for the fiscal year 2018-2019, which was the last full year before the pandemic. The affiliated programs include swimming, youth swimming, water polo, diving, artistic swim, and adult swimming. We allotted nearly 46,000 lane hours, and they used just over 38,000, which is about 83% of their allotment. The pink section shows lane hours returned, unused due to holidays or weather closures, and lane hours unavailable due to other affiliated events. The annual available lane hours at the 50-meter pool are just under 102,000 hours, and the affiliates and renters use 38%. Currently, all of our affiliates prior to the pandemic were only based out of the 50 meter. This slide depicts the field capacity for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Affiliated programs include baseball, softball, cricket, football, lacrosse, and soccer. We allocated over 42,000 hours, and they used over 39,000, which is 79% of the allocations. In the orange section, we back out weather and no use dates through the school district. The annual available field hours are 118,000. Of that, affiliates and renters use nearly 36%. Other field use includes renters, tournaments, THPRD special events, summer camps, and internal programs such as adult softball, grass volleyball, leagues, and tournaments. There are a few reasons that affect capacity, such as lower demand times during the day and late in the evening from 9 to 10 p.m. Some weekends on our outlying schools, fields, and maintenance closures due to wear and tear and for rest and recovery. Currently, most of the time allocated is during prime time, but in the future, affiliates will not be allocated all prime time slots for fields, gyms, and pool space. Here, we've created a timeline for when each sport will reapply for affiliation. We will be adding boxing as an affiliate, and they will be the first to affiliate since their current contracts expire in June. Aquatics will be last until more facilities are open, staffing levels increase, and we build back internal programming. We've staggered these based on sports seasons so that folks will have plenty of time to get their paperwork together that will not impact their seasons of play. Our next steps will be meeting with the stakeholder work group next week to discuss the board's feedback, and return in April to have a member from the stakeholder work group and staff present final recommendations to the board of directors. We will continue to update DCP 8, and we'll start the aquatic fee study to address dry land, training room, office space, storage, and lane fees. This is similar work that we did with the field fees in 2018. As I stated earlier, affiliates play a critical role, and if we were to run these programs, they would be more expensive. We understand the clubs have long used these spaces, often for little money, and there will be difficult conversations as we roll out these changes. I'd like to thank our stakeholder work group volunteers and our staff, Brian Yorstone, Lori Leach, Jeff Lee, Lori Walker, and Mackenzie Miller for all their hard work on improving this process. And now I'll open it up for questions.
Do any of my board members have questions? Lisa?
Thank you so much, Julie, and to all the committee members and to all the staff for helping this process. It's really exciting to see. And I know it's difficult conversations. So thank you for your skills in facilitating and supporting that work. My questions, I think, are very logistical, and I probably just am misunderstanding something. So the scorecard that you showcased, who fills that out?
That is staff.
Staff fill that out. Okay.
Yes.
And then I know this is not common at all around, I know in the past we've had some behavior. I don't know if it was affiliates. I don't know if it was guests on our fields as an example. Well, in the case that I'm thinking of, that used very problematic language that was not in alignment with our values. So something like that would show up on a scorecard, right?
Correct. And it's also part of the requirements within the DEIA work where they have to have a player and parent and spectator code of conduct so that we can address those quickly. We also have made it very clear that they need to share our messaging without altering it. So if we send out an email about language matters, we don't want them to cut and paste what they want, that they're going to send that out and copy our staff in so that we're aware that that communication is going out. but those are some remedies that we've or solutions that we've come up to help with those situations that have been occurring.
Yeah, is equally important, I think, is it, we know obviously there are going to be situations where players overreact to whatever may be happening on the field, coaches, spectators. As important, of course, is not only the specific dealing with the individual and their behavior, but also how the organization manages it. Because that has been probably the more complex, is that sometimes they step in, sometimes they don't, sometimes they wait to see what we're going to do. And yeah,
Okay,
enough said.
And then can you help me understand like the unused hours? And I guess I'm wondering, so if I was reading the chart correctly, it's possible I'm not, water polo as an example had the lowest percentage of hours used compared to hours allocated. I guess I'm wondering, maybe in that example, like, are there rules about like when they have to let people know that it's not going to be utilized? Maybe water polo isn't the best example. Maybe it's more outdoor sports. I mean, do they need to provide like a week, 2 days?
Yeah, so we have a timeline that is set up for 2 weeks after their allocation. They need to return time so that we can either reallocate that time back or release that time. And so in the past, we've had different timelines for aquatics and for field sports, and now we're bringing on boxing. So we wanted to create one consistent timeline for when folks get their allocations and the requirements for them to turn those back. We're standardizing the forms that happen so that we're able to keep track. For aquatics, when these times that they're giving back, it might seem like there are a lot of hours, but most of the time it's because they're impacted by other affiliates. So that use of a swim meet that may wipe out, some of your events. And because we've always done those, or recent years, we've only done those allocations at the 50 meter, there's actually not that much time that's given back, because what has happened in the past is if water polo gives that time back, then maybe swimming jumps on that time, or diving, or another group. And then, we have things that have also impacted the time that we, whether it's weather or holiday seasons, which is typically around the time where they have their season, that would impact that time. In aquatics, is a lot lower on the give back than some of the field time, if you compare that. And a lot of times folks ask for more because they're not sure what their numbers are going to be like. And,
Of course.
And so once they, we do our allocations fairly early, registration's still going on. We give them time to figure out how many teams they need, how many teams are going to put on a field, and then they turn that time back.
I appreciate you explaining that, and I thank you. My last question isn't really a question, but with the DEIA stuff, like, I'm really glad to see that that's going to be a requirement. I also want to make sure, just because some folks are just starting their journey, right? And we've been really lucky with the resources that we've had and the leadership that we have. So even thinking about, like, here's a one sheet to get you started. Like, here's some consultants we've worked with, or here's some trainings that we're offering that you are welcome to come to that would meet the requirements. Just, I imagine that if I was running a small nonprofit and told I have to do DEI training, I might not know where to start, right? So just something for us to think about. So thank you, Julie. Thank you.
Yeah. And just, we've heard that, especially with some of the rec clubs, of, where do we start? We know that each club is going to have to figure out what's best for their members and how they want to address that. A lot of the national governing bodies already have some of this work in place, but we would like to, help them along that journey. But we don't want to do it for them. They've got to do the work and make sure that they're equitable.
Do it for them. You should not do it for them. And maybe giving them like the tips on the first steps, yes, I think would be helpful.
Great feedback. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions? Heidi or Alfredo? No. Julie, I had a couple questions. So when they give back hours for either the pool or the field space, is there something that goes back to all the other affiliates to see if they wanted more time, or is there something like, is there a thing where the community can start coming in and getting those hours, or trying to figure out what's available to reserve for just, personal time, so that we're
Yes.
utilizing up to 100% if we can?
Yeah, so in the past, when a group gives back that time, we push that back out to the other spring sports or fall sports to see if anybody else would like to pick up that time. What we're going to do moving forward is make sure that we have a pie, right? Of this is the pool or this is the field time. And
Right.
we want to make sure we're carving out THPRD first,
Mhm.
and then, Beaverton School District with our IGA, and then what our affiliates are using, but holding out. And we know historically the times that people aren't using or they're constantly turning back. And instead of allocating those time, holding those out for the community, and then still having time for renters and outside users, because they are important to us as well. And then it's that time. So instead of it just going back into that recycled, it's just, these are people's set times or groups set times. We've been piloting community use out at the HMT complex with a local mosque. And they've reached out to us, and we've been able to allocate them consistent field time on the complex for their soccer group to come out and play. And we've been doing it for 2 seasons now, and it's been really successful. So that's something we want to expand on. It's during prime time. They have access to the field, and we're just scheduling different. And in my talking point is just, affiliates are not always going to get the prime time slots.
I guess, so how would the community find out like what's left and available, right? Like if I'm just a group of like 12 people who do want to rent a thing but don't know what time, but I'm not going to be an affiliate because I won't have like a ton of people, but it's something consistently that I'd want to do for whatever time is open left. Is there a way for somebody to find that out?
Yeah, so there's 2 types of use. If you want to just drop in with friends, we're going to have fields in quadrants that are available on dates and times that we would advertise. These are available for the community for drop-in. So if you wanted to come with 6 of your buddies and, throw a frisbee or play soccer, these are where you could go, and it's first come, first serve. The community use would still require permits. We'd want them to reach out to staff because they're going to want it on a consistent basis, or maybe for a period of time. And then same thing goes, once we're out of affiliate time, we're out of community time. That's our field capacity.
Gotcha. I guess for instance, if I wanted to do the field, the soccer stuff like the Moss does, if I was a new group coming in, how would I find out what's available? It's just emailing you guys, or is it somewhere on our website where they can find like every Wednesday at whatever these are going to be open in February or something, so that they can?
Currently, we haven't advertised it on our webpage, but that's something we're exploring on the community use and drop-in. We are centralizing all of our communication to a sports@THPRD email that goes to all of our aquatic and our field staff and gym. So when those requests come in, we can get back to folks in a timely manner instead of them saying, oh, I got to go to this person at Garden Home or this person at the 50 meter, that we're able to get those all central emails and then be able to reply in a timely manner.
Okay, perfect. And then I know there was like that graph of how, is it yearly that we're reviewing affiliate stuff, or like that they have to reapply, or that new ones, how often are we doing the affiliate?
Yeah.
For
so
each
the
sport?
scorecard, they'll be evaluated after each allocation. So for like competitive soccer, they have 4 allocations. They'll be evaluated after each allocation. Some folks only do 1 season. Football only plays in the fall. And so we would evaluate them on the scorecard. We've changed the affiliation from every 5 years to reapply to every 3 years. And this scorecard helps us evaluate that partnership to make sure that they're being good stewards to public resources and that we have the right partners. And this was actually the stakeholder work group's idea. They were the ones saying that we need to be held accountable as well. And so it was great to see the volunteers come up with that scorecard that will help us evaluate folks in that next affiliation cycle.
Great. So what if I'm a new, like a brand new, like I want to create a new thing? Do I have to wait 3 years for the next cycle to open up? Okay.
No, we have a timeline. So because our allocations are quite a bit ahead of when folks need fields, we're asking for, I believe it's 6 to 7 months that they reach out so they can complete the paperwork. We can see if we can accept them as an affiliate, and then they can get in on the allocation. What typically happens is March rolls around and spring sports start and people reach out and say, I want to be an affiliate. Well, that doesn't give us enough time to get through the paperwork, evaluate folks. And it becomes this like, I need it now. And then we're trying to figure out if we can accommodate. So we've built in those levels in there that we'll accept these, but we need time to get folks in the door and to make sure that, we have the space and that we can accommodate. So we do have both built in.
Okay, perfect. And then as far as, those like when people are given for the weathers, like soccer, how our kids' soccer things get canceled because of the rain. Is that something that comes from the THPRD side, or is that something that comes from the like Milltown side or something like that?
It can come from both.
Okay.
We will rain out the fields when they're not safe.
Gotcha.
So we're expecting another storm. So baseball most likely is going to lose some field access here in the next week or so. But there are times where it might be windy or it might be raining, but they don't want to have their 5-year-olds out there doing soccer practice. So they'll turn back that time.
That counts as just turn back time. Gotcha. Okay. And then, so I'm assuming they're not charged for
Correct.
that, or yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Great. Heidi, did you have questions?
Just one, and thank you, Julie and staff and the stakeholder group for all of this work. It's exciting to hear and see what you've been able to accomplish. And I know we were a little uncertain going into it because we didn't know, it's sort of an emotional piece here. I do have a question about the work group, the stakeholder group. Do we foresee them continuing some of their work with us then, or do we foresee a stakeholder group continuing on? Yeah,
so what we would do is that review committee that we've talked about, we would like, in the scorecard, we've asked for folks making sure that they're either volunteering or giving back as part of, being good partners. But what we're going to do is ask each affiliate or a group of affiliates to commit for 1 year to sit on that review committee. And that helps us get another set of eyes that maybe we're not looking at, but they wouldn't be evaluating their own sport.
Okay.
And it just brings that community feel, we're all using the same resources, we're serving the same kids in different sports, and we just want to make sure that we have a good review process in that.
Okay.
So that's where we'll keep those folks engaged.
Yeah, and I thought that's what I heard, but I wasn't quite sure. It doesn't sound like it'll necessarily, they will still be stakeholders, but it'll just be moving into more of that review kind of focus then. That's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Alfredo?
Okay, hi Julie. I've got a just classic new person question. I think it's just I'm just looking at the document, and I'm just curious about the requirement that organizations have to be nonprofits, and that may be something my peers know very well the rationale behind. But I'm just curious what is behind that, and what if there was any discussions about that.
Yeah, so the committee is very passionate about folks being nonprofit status. One, if we didn't have that, we would open the door for-profit organizations, which, would meet our mission of what we're trying to accomplish. A lot of the reasons for the nonprofit status is it holds the clubs financially responsible. It helps with the liability if anything was to happen to a player while they're participating in those clubs. You know, currently all 41 of our affiliates are nonprofit, and all 4 seeking affiliation are also nonprofit. We feel it's important as we move forward through this process. That is why we're carving out that community use time for groups who want to be organized, but maybe aren't part of an OISA league or, you know, little league, but they would still have that opportunity to have access to our fields.
I'm just thinking of you know, the you know, just the hypothetical of like a for-profit who's, you know, who specializes in you know, soccer for 2 to 3 year olds that you know, is that something that they can, you know, if there's a family out there who, I guess what I'm trying to say is making sure I always want to make sure our folks in the district are getting access to everything they can get access to. So I think that's where my head scratcher was a little bit of just like, is there services that for-profits are providing that nonprofits are not, that we're inadvertently or intentionally kind of saying we don't, there's no room to be on our fields because we need to make sure we go down this list, or are they at the bottom of a list? So, and again, that's probably due to me being new and not fully understanding where that, you know, the barrier is there. But I that would be the only thing that would come to mind is just if I wanted to enroll my kid into this little program, are all the recreational opportunities that are available in the metro area, are those happening in Greater Beaverton that using our facilities, or are they on private lands, or where, you know, where are people going for those things? I guess like open-ended question.
Yeah. So our focus at our facilities is to provide that rec level of soccer classes, dance, you know, all of the recreational opportunities. The affiliates provide that next level. Those really specialized or private organizations, we can only rent on our fields. We can't rent them time at the Beaverton School District site. So they have to go through Beaverton School District to gain access. So I believe like I-9 Sports would be an example where they put in their request directly with the school district to gain access to fields in Beaverton. We can only allocate that time to on our fields that are district owned for those. And as I said earlier, it is important that we have time available for renters, because we do have people that come in and provide maybe, disc golf or ultimate frisbee that's going to come in and, you know, maybe just do a one-day event or a few weekends to get people to be interested in the sport. So we do have those opportunities for folks to rent the fields. But if they want school district fields, they have to go through Beaverton School District and pay those fees.
Okay, cool. I think where my weird train of thought is somewhere going is kind of like this. I would just hate for someone to say at some point, hey, I had, you know, here's this program. How come it's not in Beaverton? It's XYZ. You know, how come this is not available to us? And maybe I'm just thinking of kind of like the Ridwell thing or something like that, of just that we might, you know, just to, I don't know, to be mindful of that. Like I understand it from, you know, we have almost all the bases covered, but I guess that's the only thing that's just sort of sticking in my head is just kind of that curiosity is, if would there ever be a situation where we're kind of barring something that we're not offering, but you know, that somebody sees either in another part of the metro area and says, how come you're obstructing this operation or something like that. But I'm not saying we are. That's just my
Yeah, I think
curiosity here. So.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that this is for the affiliate status. We still have opportunities for people to be a partner or an associate, or to be a renter, or to be a commercial renter. So this process is just for those youth sports that we're wanting to gain access, that are partners, that are providing a service that we don't provide at a lower fee rate. But we still have opportunities for like a group like that to come in and maybe will not maybe meet affiliate status, but would meet partner, associate, or renter, and we would still be able to allocate space to them.
Okay. And now I totally get where I'm way out in left field now. So
well, no,
thank you.
You're actually not, though, Alfredo, because the fact of the matter is there are always groups on an annual basis that feel like, hey, the park district is restricting X, Y, Z, and we're like, for lack of a better term, we're the gatekeeper, and we set those priorities up of the highest and greatest needs, recreational, and then if there is the leftover time, and I think in this new structure we're creating, we're intentionally setting aside some of this time where we've never done that before, because the affiliates have always pushed back, like, no, we should control everything.
Yeah. It is actually completely clear which lane I'm talking about and which lane you're talking about, and I'm out of my lane. So thank you for bearing with me. Now I get it. We're affiliates only, and carry on with your. Sorry, everybody.
Julie, I had another question. Is there like a ranking of affiliation? Like let's say we had too many soccer clubs, right? Or like we had that women's only soccer club that wants to come in, but we have no spot open, right? Is it, if they meet criteria, we just have to make space for them? Or is there like, well, they meet more affiliate criteria, like they have more in-district people, or they have more diversity stuff that we're looking for, where we would push out somebody else to accommodate them? Like, how does that work out? Or have we not? I'm assuming we've hit that point before, or how do we handle that?
Yeah, so it's all going to be based on capacity of if we have amenities available to serve another club, right? If you look at some of these capacity levels at, 79%, and then we look over, numbers fluctuate on teams, almost all youth sports are down numbers, obviously, just at the state that we've been in for the last 2 years, which opens up field time, right? And so a lot of it is based on, do we have the capacity? For a good example on aquatics is they've had a lot in the past, and even through this pandemic, they're getting more time because we're putting them at other pools, and we were closed and didn't have programming, and they had this access. But once we start building our programs back, that capacity is going to go down. So it's going to be challenging when we hit that aquatics group of where we've built back our programs, what pool time we need, and what really is available to those affiliates. We didn't want to do a ranking, but something that would be in consideration is, would you take a club that only serves 100 youth as opposed to a club that's serving 1,000 in our district that are in district patrons? And that's something that we haven't talked about, a classification system of ranking folks. We've been talking about, do we have the capacity? Because you can't just add, you can't accept 4 soccer groups at the same, year-round competitive level and keep giving them less because they won't be able to operate their programs successfully. Yeah. And so it all comes down to how much time do we have? And that's why we've built these capacities out so we could really understand, what are people using? What are they turning back? Do we have trends of what the folks are not using? And can we give that time elsewhere? We also are being really intentional about carving out this community use time and drop-in, which will limit the capacity for affiliates as well.
I guess my question is, are you just like grandfathered in if you've already, like, how does a new affiliate come in if we're already at capacity? Or how do we reevaluate to see which one, right? Like if you have 1,000 kids versus like 200, but like, I don't know, 200 of them are not in district. All those numbers kind of compare. Has the affiliate group talked about how, if we have too many affiliates wanting to affiliate and we don't have enough space, like how we allocate? Is it just based on people served, or, you know?
Yeah, so we decided not to grandfather anybody in. Everybody has to reapply. So when soccer comes up, those choosing to seek affiliation can apply at the same time. We want to make sure that we're providing an equal access and opportunity for those folks to apply for affiliation.
And that's every 3 years. That's the every 3 years.
Yeah, every 3
Okay.
years.
Okay.
Once we have that 3-year cycle, you know, we wouldn't be able to add anybody unless we had capacity. After that, but that's where the scorecard comes in too, right? If we have somebody who's constantly going on Beaverton School District fields, or when they're not supposed to, you know, disrespecting our staff, you know, maybe not meeting the in and out of district requirements, that's something that we would consider next time that they go to reaffiliate with us. We want to make sure that we have good, solid examples of, no, you know, you didn't meet affiliation in fall, you didn't meet it in spring, so this is something that, you know, is important. And so those are those factors that we would look at. So it is every 3 years that it would be open on that cycle. Obviously, they're staggered, as you've seen, 22, 23, 24, and then 3 years after, it would be that same cycle.
Yeah.
We do anticipate a few groups that are seeking affiliation to meet the requirements and to potentially
Not get space.
no, that we would be able to accommodate.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, we've been real intentional about wanting to make this fair to everybody who's seeking affiliation, looking at those capacity levels, and then reevaluating, evaluating our affiliates after each allocation, and then that 3-year cycle, they would have to reapply.
Okay, great. Heidi, did you have another question?
Yeah, just a quick question, and it sort of gets back to what Alfredo was talking about. So I don't imagine that our affiliates sponsor tournaments or host tournaments. Where do tournaments fall in this, like, field space usage?
Yeah, so we've identified what affiliation means. And affiliation means games and practices.
Okay.
We have a completely separate process. If they want to host a tournament, there's a separate fee, there's a separate form that they fill out. And we basically, it's a little different timing for aquatics and sports, but we take requests a certain time of year, and then we allocate for the season. So the summer season or the winter season, whatever the tournaments are based there. But it is a completely separate process.
Okay, and do we have many affiliates that are hosting tournaments? Or is it usually, oh, we do, okay.
Yeah, but we also have a lot of other groups,
other
that come in
agencies
direct.
that, okay.
Yeah, we rent to Mount Hood Soccer, FC Portland for tournaments. We work with USA Softball that brings in some big softball tournaments in the area. So we do have a pretty robust tournament season with our affiliates and outside renters.
And for some reason, I want to say I saw a pyramid or something at some point that we had. Do we have like a visual graphic of these layers of opportunities with our field use? Or am I just imagining? Oh,
no,
it was the, okay.
How much it
when we were doing the fee
each level.
Piece. Okay. Yeah, there's just so many layers to it. And back to Alfredo's question about, you know, where can people come in at, and affiliate is a very specific. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions?
So we'll be back.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, thank you for your feedback.
Do they have any questions for us? Or I mean, I feel like you know generally what we want or are working towards. So.
No, I mean, we've taken back the feedback we've received from you and tried to weave it into this process. And, you know, we have lots of documents that are very in depth an application, the policy and procedure, the DCP that we've been working on that really clearly outline a lot of this work that we've been doing. And it's great to get your feedback, and hopefully that the committee has really hit the mark on what we're trying to accomplish.
Great. All right, thank you, everybody. So I think that's it right for this, and then we meet back at 6:15, right, Doug?
Yeah, you have the choice, since it's executive session anyway. You could start executive session early and take your break between the two, or wait and start at 6:15. Your call.
Thoughts, my fellow? I don't have a preference.
I'm down
Would
to
you
roll
rather
into it.
roll into it? Okay, we have to sign off and go to the other one though, right?
Correct.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
We'll just go. Thanks.